that will become a deadly combination, deadly cocktail, and that can create problems for Shiv Sena to come to power again in BMC. Remember, Shiv Sena's soul is BMC, the Municipal Corporation of Mumbai, with the highest budget across the country, more than 45,000 crore. So the soul of Shiv Sena is completely relies on corporation. This is what many say. So, Uddhav Thackeray will leave no stone unturned as far as municipal corporation polls are concerned. And this is perhaps the reason now the Hindutva fight has started in Maharashtra. Who is Gadhadhari Hindutva? Who is Gadha Hindutva? All these debates have started. A statement comes from Devendra Fadnavis, then Uddhav Thackeray reacts to it, and then Uddhav Thackeray makes the statement, Devendra Fadnavis reacts to it, Raj Thackeray is doing his own Hindutva politics, Navneet Rana is teaching Uddhav Thackeray Hindutva. So all these things are happening in the politics of Maharashtra only because of the municipal polls that are few months from now. Also, this time around, Shiv Sena, BJP in a way is trying to create a situation, a difficult situation for Shiv Sena, where they will not be able to prove that they are a hardline Hindutva party, and this is what BJP wants. And going by what has happened in the state of Maharashtra in last 15 days, 20 days, and what is expected to happen in few days from now, it feels that on the Hindutva line, it will be difficult for Shiv Sena to justify their stand, because already they are in alliance with Congress and NCP, and most of the times their stand has been secular, and BJP has tagged those stands as anti-Hindutva stands. So the atmosphere has been created in such a manner that things will become difficult for Shiv Sena in coming months to prove that they are a hardline Hindutva party, and this is exactly what BJP wants to defeat Shiv Sena in municipal corporation polls in Mumbai.
Siddhant, since you're mentioning BMC elections again and again, for those of us who are not from Mumbai, who don't understand Maharashtra politics in that so much detail, can you then explain the choice of Aurangabad as a rally venue? What is the significance of Aurangabad?
Okay, so Aurangabad, there is a long pending demand of Aurangabad's name to be changed to Sambhaji Nagar, and this is this used to be Balasaheb Thackre's demand. Again, talking about the Thackeray legacy, the Thackeray politics, which Raj Thackeray wants to carry forward. This particular venue has been chosen because this venue has been a center of Thackeray politics. Shiv Sena has been demanding that the name of Aurangabad has to be changed to Sambhaji Nagar, and now Shiv Sena itself is in power, but they are not doing that. So Raj Thackeray is in Aurangabad to remind Shiv Sena of the promises that they have made during the times of Balasaheb Thackeray. Also, Raj Thackeray is eyeing on the Marathi pockets, the hardcore Hindutva pockets of Marathwada, and this is the reason that he is in Aurangabad. So also the municipal polls are taking place across the state. It's not BMC which is going to poll. Along with BMC, 9 other municipal corporations are going to poll. So one reason is to make Shiv Sena realize that this was their promise of changing the name of Aurangabad to Sambhaji Nagar, which was the promise which has not been fulfilled by Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray despite being in power. Also, the Hindutva Marathi vote bank of Aurangabad and Marathwada is something which Raj Thackeray is eyeing upon. So along with BMC, there are polls which are going to take place across 9 municipal corporations in the state. So there is a possibility that BJP is going to have an alliance with MNS in most of the municipal corporation elections.
So then do hold on, because we have some inputs from that rally ground, the visuals of which are on screen. What is it that is being talked about at that rally ground? The main points that the MNS leaders have made on stage so far, they focus on Hindutva. They're saying Hindutva is our strength. We should use this to win over the Aurangabad Municipal Corporation. On the loudspeaker issues, none of the local leaders have committed or said anything so far. They said they're waiting for directions from Raj Thackeray when he begins his speech today. And the third issue, like we said, is also about the sugarcane farmers and the farmers there. So they have not spoken on that controversial issue of loudspeakers so far. Will Raj Thackeray say anything on that, because this rally is coming just 48 hours before the deadline expires. He had given a deadline to Shiv Sena and the administration that either you remove the loudspeakers from all mosques or we will start playing the Hanuman Chalisa over and above the sound of the loudspeakers in mosques, so that it will create a kind of confrontational situation. So just before that, Raj Thackeray is addressing this rally. A lot of local leaders are addressing, but they have made no mention of the loudspeaker issue. Instead, they are talking about farmers, they are talking about Hindutva politics, and Harman has been reporting that the crowd there, yes, there are MNS workers and MNS supporters, but a lot of the people in the crowd are actually former Shiv Sena members of Shiv Sena supporters. Harman Gomes is with me on the phone line. Harman, while we wait for Raj Thackeray to reach the rally venue, from what is being said on the stage, still no mention of the loudspeaker?
Absolutely. In fact, almost every speaker has spoken about the loudspeaker. They say that it is a good issue that has been raised by Raj Thackeray and it's not something new. They state that he has spoken about it in the past too. But most important point that is being made by the local leadership here as well as the state leadership is that they're saying they want a sense of direction, a sense of plan as to what is to be done next as far as the loudspeaker issue is concerned, because the 3rd of May is when the ultimatum has been given for the removal of these loudspeakers from all the mosques. Besides that, the other points that they've been speaking is about how Hindutva is their actual strength and they need to use it to strength to win the Aurangabad Municipal Corporation. Besides that, they've also raised the farmers' issue, stating that in Marathwada there are many sugarcane farmers who have not got their due as far as sugarcane farming is concerned, as the Shiv Sena-led Mahavikas Aghadi government is not helping the farmers, and this could in turn lead to farmers' suicide. But the most important point that is being raked up by the speakers is about the loudspeakers, so they're eagerly awaiting as to what Raj Thackeray says next about this plan. And even as we speak, I would say in the next 5 minutes, he would reach here at the venue.
All right, Harman, I'll let you go. I'll come back to you. 5 minutes is when Raj Thackeray is expected. I'm joined by Sanjay Dwivedi, spokesperson of Shiv Sena, and Niranjan Shetty of the Maharashtra BJP is also with me on the phone line. Sanjay Dwivedi, जो हमारे colleagues बता रहे थे, राज ठाकरे यहाँ पहुंचे हैं और पूरी उम्मीद है कि वो शिवसेना को अपने वो वादे याद दिलाएंगे जिसको शिवसेना ने पूरा नहीं किया, इंक्लूडिंग द रीनेमिंग ऑफ औरंगाबाद।
मैं अरुणा जी, मैं 2 बातें कहना चाह रहा हूँ पहले, फिर मैं आपकी इस बात का भी जवाब दे दूंगा। देखिए, सबसे बड़ी बात है, किसी राजनीतिक पार्टी को किसी राजनीतिक पार्टी के लिए नहीं कहना चाहिए वो हिंदूवादी नहीं है, हिंदुत्ववादी नहीं है, कि आप किस लाइन से काम कर रहे हैं, किस विचारधारा से काम कर रहे हैं, ये आपकी ऑडियोलॉजी हो सकती है, हमारी ऑडियोलॉजी हमारी है। मैं हिंदुत्ववादी हूँ नहीं हूँ, जनता डिसाइड करती है ना। हम तो कह रहे हैं पूरा देश हिंदुत्ववादी बन जाए, हर राजनीतिक पार्टी हिंदुत्ववादी बन जाए, AIMS वो भी ओवैसी जी भी हिंदुत्ववादी बन जाए, सब हिंदुत्ववादी बने, क्योंकि राज सबका है। राज कोई शिवसेना का नहीं है या भारतीय जनता पार्टी का नहीं है या MNS का नहीं है। पहली बात तो मैं ये कह रहा हूँ। दूसरी बात मैं कह रहा हूँ, 2014 से 2019 तक बीजेपी सरकार रही, ये जजमेंट जो है 2005 का है, तो 2005 से लेकर 17 साल बाद MNS को याद आई, 2.5 साल बाद, तो कैसे आपको राजनीति दिखाई पड़ रही? अगर ये चीज इन्होंने 2014 से 2019 के बीच में नहीं उठाना चाहिए क्या? तब इनको नहीं दिखाई पड़ रहा लाउडस्पीकर को दिखाई नहीं पड़ रहे थे, या इनको ध्वनि नियंत्रण नहीं दिखाई पड़ रहा था। आज 2.5 साल सरकार चलने के बाद जब इनसे भारतीय जनता पार्टी कोई नेता इनसे मिलने जाते हैं, जैसे आज मुलाकात हुई, उसके बाद ये मैटर उठाया गया, तो ये राजनीतिक मैटर है, ये मानना पड़ेगा। देश मान रहा है, महाराष्ट्र जनता मानेगी। आज महाराष्ट्र जनता को क्या चाहिए? आज महंगाई बढ़ रही है, पेट्रोलियम पदार्थों के दाम बढ़ रहे हैं, तो जो माननीय मोदी जी कहते हैं आज पेट्रोलियम दाम, मैं इस पर चर्चा नहीं करूंगा क्योंकि विषय ये नहीं है, चर्चा नहीं करें, इस पर चर्चा मैं करता। तो जो ये चीजें बढ़ रही हैं देश में, आप तो किसका सोचने का काम है? ये जो 2014 में माननीय भारतीय जनता पार्टी माननीय मोदी जी ने वादा किया था कि महंगाई कम करेंगे और पेट्रोलियम पदार्थों के दाम कम करेंगे, तो ये कौन सी राजनीति चल रही है? ये सब चीजों को जनता ना उठाए तो पूरे देश में सब आप हनुमान चालीसा का पाठ शुरू कर, हनुमान चालीसा करिए, किसने मना किया? मैं तो हमेशा कहता हूँ, मेरे घर में भी हनुमान जी स्थापित हैं, हम लोग रोज करते हैं और पूरा हिंदू जाति करता है। मैं अपनी बात नहीं कहूंगा, आप भी करती होंगी, हर आदमी करता है। बात है हनुमान चालीसा की नहीं, लेकिन जिस तरह से हनुमान चालीसा का पाठ किया जा रहा है वो तरीका गलत है। उस तरीके को हम विरोध कर रहे हैं। ये विरोध करने का हमारा भी, उनका अगर हनुमान चालीसा पढ़ने का अधिकार है तो हमारा भी संवैधानिक अधिकार है उनका विरोध करने का। तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि हम विरोध कर रहे हैं तो हम हिंदुत्ववादी नहीं है या हिंदुत्व से हम अलग हट गए, ऐसा नहीं है।
Okay, Niranjan Sethi, you want to respond to that? Bharatiya Janata Party doesn't want to answer questions on issues of price rise, unemployment, development, and therefore they are aiding all these, all these other allies or partners to raise issues of Hanuman Chalisa and similar issues. That's the charge Shiv Sena is making.
See, if you allow me the same time frame what you give to Mr.
Please
Dwivedi,
go ahead.
then I would like to respond, Arunima, about the first thing that the Honorable Prime Minister did after attaining the power in 2014. The first thing he took that all the kinds of corruption that was in Manrega. So slowly and steadily, there were a lot of the late Indira Gandhi wanted to do many things good for the people. She wanted to do that Garibi Hatao. Mr. Rajiv Gandhi wanted to bring, late Rajiv Gandhi ji wanted to bring computer, digital India and all. But you need to understand that who actually did all this thing. Basically, it would, of course, if you say so, if at all it happened all during the regime of the BJP and especially Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So irrespective, if he is speaking about the price rise and many things, I would like to only mention just now right away that today the Shiv Sena has become too much pragmatic after forming an alliance with the Congress and NCP.
Niranjan ji, I am not taking away from your time, but I just want to tell everybody that the visuals on the screen are of Raj Thackre's vehicle reaching the rally venue. There are people standing on both sides. So he has quite a fan following, quite a cult following. And as we see these pictures, I hand it back to Niranjan Sethi, who was responding to that point, that the issues of Hanuman Chalisa and loudspeakers are being discussed. And the Shiv Sena's charges that it is being discussed because BJP doesn't want to respond to questions about development and price rise. On that point, I had interjected. So go ahead, Mr. Shetty.
Yeah. See, I would like to take Mr. Dwivedi to many of the other states where the present government are of Congress, or likewise in Maharashtra, Rajasthan, or anywhere else in the country. I would like to take him for a ride along with me. I would like to show him the kind of work, the road development work is going on, the kind of transportation the Prime Minister is concentrating upon, whether it is railways, whether it is roadways, whether it is transport through sea. So all kind of development work are in the program. You name it, the Char Dham Yatra, or the kind of GST, these things, simplifications, or the ID returns that are being made simplified for the people to file in a Saral form. So there are many things happening. See, Rome wasn't built in a day. So likewise, I would like to remind Mr. Dwivedi that in this situation, he and his party needs to, support the government at the center. Once upon a time, they were an ally with us. They used to understand what we used to speak. Today, as I said earlier, now they have become more pragmatic after forming an alliance with the Congress and NCP. And he said he would not like to, state himself as a Hindutvavadi or not Hindutvavadi. He forgets that it is the same Congress and NCP who used to call the Shiv Sena, especially a fundamentalist, when they were aligned with us. And today, these people, Congress and NCP, feels proud to call themselves secular.
All right. Sanjay Dwivedi, as we are speaking, we can see the visuals of Raj Thackray reaching the rally venue. The ground is packed. And he's just gotten off his vehicle there. He's moving towards the rally ground where local leaders have been speaking so far, addressing issues like Hindutva, addressing issues like sugarcane farmers and the issues of farmers in that area. But on that crucial issue of loudspeakers, the ultimatum that Raj Thackeray had given, we are waiting to hear from the MNS chief himself. These are aerial shots of his entourage moving towards the stage, moving towards the dais at Aurangabad. He's moving, he's being escorted towards the dais from where local leaders are already addressing the crowd. It's a packed house there, absolutely full. 15,000 was the estimate that my colleague Harman was giving after speaking to administrators, that's the capacity of the crowd. But the crowd appears to be much more than 15,000. And Raj Thackeray is just making his way to the dais there, and a lot of lot of build up to this to this rally in Aurangabad. The administration is also watching it closely. They had given permission after putting in some restrictions. Now, will that be honored by the MNS organizers? Let's just listen in for a bit.
सन्मान्य राजसाहेबांना विनंती करतो की शिवछत्रपतींच्या पुतळ्यास्थानी पुष्पहार अर्पण करावा. छत्रपती शिवाजी महाराज की जय भवानी. मी या ठिकाणी आपली सर्वांची रजा घेताना एवढीच विनंती करीन.
Okay, so while we are waiting for Raj Thackeray to take the dais, let's quickly slip into a commercial break. We'll continue to get you this story which we are tracking. Stay with us.
Propagated here. One of the leaders that he has mentioned is that of the name is Baba Saheb Ambedkar. And remember, the Aam Aadmi Party has in the recent past tried to make a very strong push to appropriate the legacy of Baba Saheb Ambedkar. And if you look at the politics of the Aam Aadmi Party, especially over the past few years, it has tried to counter what it calls the narrative of the BJP by putting forward a counter narrative, whether it is the promise of a Ram Rajya according to Arvind Kejriwal in the Delhi Assembly, or the pushing of a Deshbhakti curriculum in the schools, and now with these shakhas that the party attempts to establish in Uttar Pradesh.
Okay.
But also remember that Aam Aadmi Party actually in the recent elections in Uttar Pradesh failed to have any sort of an impact. And this also could be a step towards building its own organization. The party has a substantial presence in urban areas, but when it comes to rural areas, it still has a long way to go. And for any political party which has national ambitions, Uttar Pradesh is extremely important. It cannot afford to ignore Uttar Pradesh if it has to, move forward in its ambitions on the national stage. And that is very clear. And even today, Aam Aadmi Party chief Arvind Kejriwal in Gujarat, because they are trying to make, an impact over there. So this is completely in keeping in line with the strategy of the Aam Aadmi Party.
Okay, thank you, Rupashri. In fact, we also have our guests joining us on the broadcast. We have Desh Ratan Nigam, advocate and also RSS supporter. Ravi Srivastava, political analyst, joining us on the broadcast. I'll come to you first, Desh Ratan Nigam. Now, on one hand, the Aam Aadmi Party is saying that they are starting this concept of Tiranga Shakhas based on the Shakha concept, the RSS concept. But on the other hand, also saying that what RSS does is a politics of hatred. How do you respond?
I think what they have said is about BJP, not the RSS. So one thing is clearly established, that the Aam Aadmi Party, without acknowledging the importance of the RSS Shakhas, have actually acknowledged the importance and relevance of RSS Shakha.
Our top focus, there's a new flashpoint between Aam Aadmi Party and BJP. Now, AAP is set to open 10,000 Tiranga Shakhas in the next 6 months along the lines of the RSS, according to Rajya Sabha MP and the party's UP state in charge, Sanjay Singh. He tweeted that this was being done to educate people of Uttar Pradesh about BJP's politics of hatred. Branch heads of these Tiranga Shakhas will be appointed from July 1st onwards. Aam Aadmi Party, Sanjay Singh also said that Tiranga Yatras would be held from time.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hindi is our national language. I'll repeat that. Hindi is our national language. With pride, we're going to do this show to support the Hindi movement in Hindi. So, अब पेश करता है यदि हफ्ता जो था नहीं. I think it's better we stick to English. It's called the week that wasn't. Last week, in fact, we should call this show Last Week There Wasn't, because it's always last week news. Last week, 78,025 people waved the tricolour simultaneously in Bhojpur, Bihar, breaking a record that was set in Pakistan 18 years ago. It's a world record. But what the hell were people doing waving the tricolour in Pakistan? No, but it's a great feat. It's a great feat. 78,025 Biharis working in unison together. First time, by the way, ever. Ever. India has suspended tourist visas issued to Chinese nationals in wake of China's reluctance to allow over 20,000 Indian students to return to China. So for now, India is out of bounds for Chinese tourists. That is, except those Chinese tourists, with guns who keep crossing our borders, going in and out. Those guys continue. Ukrainian President Zelensky says whoever started this war will also be able to end it. I mean, is there anyone, anywhere in the world who doesn't know who started this war? UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson was in India last week, and it seems like he enjoyed himself immensely in India. But now he has a unique problem. He's running out of countries to visit in order to avoid going back to Britain. It's an old statesman trick. Don't go back to home country. Stay far away. All good. According to a recent study, diabetes and stress are the leading cause of heart attacks in 2022. Isn't this great news, folks? We are no longer dying because of COVID. Great news. Great news. Rishabh Pant was fined 100% of his match fee for calling his batters back and allegedly attempting to intimidate the umpires. When asked to explain his behavior, a teammate said, "Arey yaar, he's from Delhi." Well, that makes sense. Macron became the first French president in over 20 years to win a second term. Of course, France had a record high of blank votes or no votes given at all. So in a sense, France voted for Macron over Le Pen, but still didn't vote for democracy as a concept. Think about it, folks, to win an election where nobody voted. Are we talking about France or Russia? Lots more coming up, but first the headlines. Prashant Kishor ditched by Congress. Elon Musk buys Twitter. And Emmanuel Macron wins France. People, before we get into the show, I was in a meeting with the Foreign Office. Don't ask me why. But we were discussing the fact that should we send troops to Ukraine? And we've decided instead of troops, we'll be sending buckets to bring some fuel back. Because I can't afford it, yaar. 120, 125, 135. I mean, there's no point here. Numbers aren't enough. We don't have enough numbers to match what's going to happen. So it's really pointless. Oh, wait. We are getting another channel's feed. And they called us idiots, scoundrels, cheaters. They called us all kinds of names. But we have the results, ladies and gentlemen. We have the results. We have the figures. And figures don't lie. Numbers don't lie. And don't show me the figures, Neeraj. Neeraj, don't show me the figures. I know these figures by heart. I know them during breakfast, during lunch, and during dinner. I don't need to see any figures. And we are, as I can tell you right now that I know from memory, we are 198,000 times more than the next news channel. Put them all on! Put them all on! On kar dijiye sabko. What do they have to say? Where is their voice now? Come on, speak up! Speak up! I can't hear you! I can't hear you, news channels! I can't hear what you're saying! Speak to me! Speak to me! Give me an answer! Jawab ka hai?
Sir, they are on commercial break.
Oh! You see everybody, you see what they're doing? They are so scared, these news channels. They are so scared. They're scared of the ratings, the scorecards, the truth. They've cut 2 commercials.
Yes, that's the reason.
That's the reason. That's the bloody reason. That's the reason. We are number one. Number one. Number one. We have no idea whether money changed hands or how this has happened. I don't understand how parallel news channels can run at the same time, different people at the same time. It's not making any sense to me. I'm going to investigate this matter. But in the meantime, here's our top story. Poll strategist Prashant Kishor, also known as PK, according to Raju Hirani, this week declined to join the Congress a day after party president Sonia Gandhi, yes, she is the party president. It's not clear why and how, but she is, invited him to join the party as part of an empowered group. Joining us to discuss what happened is alleged spokesperson for Prashant Kishor, Mr. Kishor Prashant. Amazing. Again, only us. Mr. Kishor Prashant.
Happy to be there. There is a definite commonality between your ideology and my ideology. So I am eager and overjoyed to have this discussion with you.
Yes. Just to remind people that this is not Prashant Kishor, it's Kishor Prashant pretending to be Prashant Kishor. What ideology?
You are obviously someone who exercises and does workouts on a regular basis.
I guess you've seen my abs, because I haven't. Yeah, but what's that got to do with anything?
Hence, as per my understanding and assessment of the situation, you strongly believe in the six-pack and we strongly believe in IPAC.
Right. Okay, it's going to be one of those kids. Okay. So after being with the BJP, with the JDU, with the Congress, the YSR Congress, the AAP, Trinamool, DMK, and apparently you were flirting with TRS as we speak, you then went back to the Congress party.
In a manner of speaking, after due consideration individually and collectively, we decided that it would be best to follow the example and mirror the behavior of our good friend while jumping from one party to another.
And this good friend is?
This good friend and fellow party hopper. Have a look.
Neither of these two people drink. Don't call them to parties. Waste of time. So coming back to the Congress, what happened there? I mean, could you not get along with the Gandhis? What's the inside track?
This is not even an issue. It is not like what you people think it is. It is far more complex and complicated, perplexing and intricate. But I will try and simplify.
मला कल्पना आहे की बसायला सोडा पण उभं राहायला पण जागा नाहीये. माझी आपणा सर्वांना नम्र विनंती आहे की आपल्या घोषणा आपलं बोलणं हे जर थांबलं तर मला अनेक विषय आपल्याशी आज बोलता येतील. मी आता येत असताना बाहेर देखील आज अजून हजारो लोक आहेत बाहेर की त्यांना आतमध्ये येता येत नाहीये कारण आतमध्ये जागाच नाहीये. आज सर्वप्रथम मी आपणा सर्वांना 1 मेच्या महाराष्ट्र दिनाच्या सर्वांना मनपूर्वक शुभेच्छा देतो.
Congratulate you all on 1st of May, today's Maharashtra Day.
आणि बोलायला सुरुवात कर.
Now I'll begin to speak.
खरं तर सभा होणार नाही होणार, राज ठाकरे सभा घ्यावी न घ्यावी,
whether this rally will happen, not happen, whether Raj Thackeray should take this rally, not take it, whether he'll get the permission or will not get the permission.
का ही गोष्ट केली मला अजूनपर्यंत समजलेली नाही.
I don't know why all this confusion was created. I didn't understand till now.
मी महाराष्ट्राच्या कुठच्याही कोपऱ्यामध्ये जरी मी समजा सभा घेतली असती तरी दूरदर्शन वरनं तुम्ही पाहिलंच असतं ना.
I could have taken it in any corner of Maharashtra. Still, you would have got to see it through Doordarshan, isn't it?
मुंबईला गुढीपाडव्याच्या दिवशी एक सभा घेतली.
On the auspicious day of Gudi Padwa, I took one rally.
सभेनंतर बरेच जण बडबडायला लागले.
After that, people just started their rant.
देण्यासाठी म्हणून एक उत्तर सभा ठाण्यामध्ये घेतली.
To respond to them, I took another one in Thane.
खरं तर 2च सभा मी घेतल्या.
Till now, I've just taken 2 rallies, right?
पण या 2 सभांवरती किती बोलतायत?
but only in these two rallies there are so many counter statements coming, so many people are responding to it.
त्यावेळेला माझ्या दिलीप धोत्रेंनी मला फोन केला. बसतील शांत, जागा नाही, ऐकता येणार नाही त्याला. आणि आमच्या दिलीप धोत्रेंनी फोन केला आणि दिलीप धोत्रेंनी सांगितलं की साहेब आपण एक संभाजीनगरला आपण एक सभा घेऊया.
When I took the rally in Thane, Dilip Dhotre called me and he said, why not take another rally in Sambhajinagar?
आणि म्हटलं हा तर संभाजीनगर, हा तर महाराष्ट्राचा मध्य.
Sambhajinagar is the heart of Maharashtra.
मग मी त्याला सांगितलं, म्हटलं आपण एक संभाजीनगरला सभा घेऊ. म्हटलं मी तुला तारीख सांगतो नंतर.
I told him, okay, we'll take a rally, but I'll tell you the date.
नाही, माझ्या ह्याच्या पुढच्या सगळ्या सभा या सगळ्या मराठवाड्यातल्या प्रत्येक जिल्ह्यामध्ये होणार आहेत.
After this, I will take a rally. In fact, my forthcoming rallies will be in different areas of Marathwada. I will go to Vidarbha also.
आपल्या कोकणातही जाणार आहे, उत्तर महाराष्ट्रातही जाणार आहे, पश्चिम महाराष्ट्रातही जाणार आहे.
I'll go to Konkan, North Maharashtra.
पण या सभांना आडकाठी आणून काहीच होणार नाही. मी कुठेही बोललो तरी ते लोकांपर्यंत पोहोचणारच आहे.
Where the rally is really doesn't matter because whatever I say will ultimately reach out to people.
सूर्य उगवतोच.
The sun has to rise, right?
पण आज या ऐतिहासिक संभाजीनगरमध्ये जी काय उरली सुरली जी काय आहे ती म्हटलं आता जरा संभाजीनगरमध्ये काढू.
Today at this historic Sambhajinagar, whatever is left for me to speak, I will do it here.
महाराष्ट्रामध्ये अनेक प्रश्न आहेत. पिण्याच्या पाण्याचा प्रश्न आहे, संभाजीनगरमध्ये शहराचा मध्ये पिण्याच्या पाण्याचा प्रश्न आहे. 10 दिवसांनी पिण्याचं
I'm certain there are many questions in Maharashtra, including safe drinking water, which is also a pertinent question for Sambhajinagar.
सगळेच अडचणी आहेत, सगळेच प्रश्न प्रलंबित आहेत. मला याची संपूर्ण कल्पना आहे. पण आजचे जे काही प्रमुख विषय आहेत या प्रमुख विषयांना धरून मी आजचं तुमच्याशी बोलणार आहे.
But today's topic, I will make sure I'll talk about it in some time. So I'm focusing on that.
खरं तर या संभाजीनगरचं ह्याचं मूळ नाव खडकी. आपल्या दोन्ही राजधान्या इथल्याच. एक आमचा देवगिरीचा किल्ला आणि त्याच्या अगोदरची आमची पैठण. मला असं वाटतं आजचा महाराष्ट्र दिन 1 मे आपण साजरा करताना पहिल्यांदा आपण थोडासा महाराष्ट्र नीट समजून घेणं गरजेचं आहे. कारण आपल्याला जर महाराष्ट्रच समजला नाही, मी त्याविषयी म्हटलं ना,
it's important to understand what is Maharashtra all about on this day of Maharashtra Day.
पण
So
जो
let's do
समाज
that
इतिहास
first.
विसरला त्याच्या पायाखालचा भूगोल सटकलेला आहे, त्याच्या पायाखालची जमीन सटकलेली आहे.
Whoever has forgotten the history of Maharashtra have really not had that kind of success as far as the geography of Maharashtra is concerned.
आपण महाराष्ट्राचे आहोत, आपण मराठी आहोत.
Who are we? We are Maharashtrians. We are
या
Marathi.
महाराष्ट्राने आजपर्यंत या देशाला काय काय दिलं. मुळात हा कधी
This
देश असा
state
नव्हता, ही भूमी
has
होती.
immensely contributed to the nation.
पण आमच्या ज्ञानेश्वर गेल्यानंतर ज्या वेळेला अल्लाउद्दीन खिलजी ज्या वेळेला महाराष्ट्रामध्ये इथे आला, आणि आमच्या देवगिरीच्या किल्ल्यामध्ये ज्यावेळी शिरला,
after our Gyaneshwar was gone, Alauddin Khilji came to Maharashtra.
जर कोणी टाळकी जर काही गडबड करायला आली असेल तिथल्या तिथे हाणा. महाराष्ट्र नवनिर्माण सेनेची सभा आहे, इथे वेडवाकड कराल ना, चौरंग करून घरी पाठवीन.
If you try any mischief at this particular rally of MNS, then we will straighten you and fix you properly.
लगेच बघायला लागले काय झालं, काय झालं, काय नाही झालं, बसा. या एका अल्लाउद्दीन खिलजीने 1,00,000 लोक घेऊन येतो म्हणून सांगितलं. रामदेवराव यादव आमचा राजा बेसावत राहिला. आमच्या
Alauddin Khilji came with 1,00,000 people and the king could not do anything. He just kept looking.
आणि ते 1,00,000 लोक नव्हतीच येणारी. आलेली लोक काही हजारात होती. मी ज्यावेळेला हा इतिहास ज्यावेळेला वाचतो त्यावेळेला मला कळतं, नाही तर आजच्या सोशल मीडियावरती आपल्याला बघतो ना आपण, अल्लाउद्दीन खिलजीचं सैन्य येतंय, ही महाराष्ट्रातली पहिली फेक न्यूज. आपण फेक न्यूज हल्ली फक्त
Alauddin Khilji
वाटेल ते सांगतात.
Sainik, the troop is what we are reading everywhere, also in the books of history. That's the first fake news.
आमच्या महाराष्ट्राची कन्या रामदेवराव यादवांची मुलगी हिला अल्लाउद्दीन खिलजी पळवून घेऊन गेला. महाराष्ट्रामध्ये अंधकार पुढचे साधारणपणे 400 वर्ष महाराष्ट्र खितपत होता. या महाराष्ट्रातल्या माझ्या माता भगिनींवरती अत्याचार होत होते, बलात्कार होत होते,
for years
मंदिरं पाडली
on
जात
this
होती.
very special land of Maharashtra. Lot many atrocities were being
याच बैठकीला आमच्या एकनाथ
meted
महाराजांनी
out on
देवाधिकार
people,
ओळ दिली.
especially the women and the children.
पावत आणि या 1630 ला दार उघडलं. आमच्या छत्रपतींचा जन्म झाला.
After all that the people of Maharashtra have gone through,
कसं जगायचं असतं आणि काय
there
जगायचं
was one
असतं
brave
हे आमच्या
man
राजाने
who
शिकवलं.
came out. It was Chhatrapati Shivaji.
महाराज गेले, इथे आमच्या नांदेडला राहणारे खूप मोठे लेखक नरहर कुरुंदकर, या कुरुंदकरांच्या पुस्तकामध्ये फार छान वर्णन केलेलं आहे त्यांचं. छत्रपती शिवाजी महाराज
from
म्हणजे कोण होते?
Nanded has very well described Shivaji Maharaj.
आपण फक्त काय विचार करतो, अफजल खानाचा कोथळा पाडला, शाहिस्ते खानाची बोटं छाटली, आग्र्यावरून तिथून निसटले, पण केवळ 50 वर्षाचं आयुष्य, 50 वर्षाचं आयुष्य. इतका मोठा हा राजा, हा बादशाह औरंगजेब, हा शिवाजी महाराजांना तिथून निसटल्यावरती मारण्यासाठी म्हणून इथे आला, सगळं काही सोडून. महाराष्ट्रामध्ये
60 years was
औरंगजेब आलाय
Shivaji.
1681 साली आणि महाराजांचा
But
मृत्यू
to
झालाय. महाराजांचं निधन
assassinate
झालंय
him, to kill him,
1680
there was
साली.
this big ruler from the Mughal who came all the way,
औरंगजेबाला माहित
leaving his
नव्हतं
empire to
की
assassinate
ज्याच्यासाठी म्हणून
Shivaji.
आपण महाराष्ट्रामध्ये चाललेलो आहोत तो माणूसच राहिलेला नाहीये. आपण कशासाठी चाललोय? तरी पुढची 27 वर्ष हा औरंगजेब या महाराष्ट्रामध्ये इथे राहिला आणि इथं मेला. 27 वर्ष परत कधी आग्राला गेलेला नाहीये.
Aurangzeb after that stayed here
इथे
for
संभाजीराजे
27
त्यांच्याशी
years
लढले.
and
संताजी धनाजी लढले.
he literally passed away here.
राजाराम महाराज लढले. ताराराणी साहेब लढल्या.
Sambhaji fought him.
1707 ला इथे मेला तो. औरंगजेबाने जी पत्र पाठवलेली आहेत ना, ती जी पत्र पाठवलेली आहेत त्या पत्रामध्ये तो कोणाचाही उल्लेख नाही करत. त्या पत्रामध्ये फक्त उल्लेख करतोय शिवाजी अजून मला छळतोय.
The letter sent by Aurangzeb has mention of no leaders, no kings, no emperors, but there is a mention of Shivaji, saying Shivaji is still a bone of contention. He is still somebody who's like a problem for me.
की शिवाजी व्यक्ती नाहीये, शिवाजी हा विचार आहे.
Shivaji is not an individual.
छत्रपती
Shivaji is
शिवाजी
a
महाराज
thought.
हा एक विचार आहे आणि हा जर विचार या भूमीमध्ये पसरला तर आपलं काही खरं नाही. आणि तेच झालं. संपूर्ण मराठी शाहीने उद्ध्वस्त केलं मोगल साम्राज्य. आज पाकिस्तानामध्ये असलेला तो अटोक किल्ला, ज्याला आपण म्हणतो ना अटके पार झेंडे फडकवले मराठ्यांनी, तो अटोक किल्ला, तिथे भगवी पताका फडकली. हा संपूर्ण मराठी शाहीचा इतिहास आपण विसरलो.
We have forgotten the history behind this state, this great state of Maharashtra.
आम्ही फक्त पुण्यतिथी आणि जयंत्या फक्त साजऱ्या करतोय आम्ही महापुरुषांच्या.
We are just celebrating Jayantis and Punyatithis of great people, great leaders, great kings.
आमच्या डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकरांचं काय वाक्य आहे? ते म्हणाले आमच्या लोकांच्या अंगामध्ये म्हणे देवी येते, भूत येतात, सगळ्या गोष्टी होतात. काय वाक्य आहे त्यांचं? अप्रतिम वाक्य आहे. बाबासाहेब म्हणतात ज्या दिवशी या देशातल्या या समाजाच्या अंगामध्ये शिवाजी नावाचं भूत येईल ना, त्या दिवशी अख्खं जग पादाक्रांत करून टाकू आपण.
Baba Sahib has said something which is really great and I'd like to quote him. He said that the day people of Maharashtra or this state or this rally will be possessed by somebody like Shivaji, that will be the day when Maharashtra will progress truly.
आज काय महाराष्ट्राची परिस्थिती झाली आहे?
What is the state of
आमच्या
Maharashtra?
महाराष्ट्राची आबरू वेशीवरती टाकली जाते. रोज आमच्या ते महाराष्ट्रामधले नेते वाटतेल ते बरळतायत, वाटतेल ते बोलतायत.
Every day people are trying to malign the state. People say whatever they want, whatever they think, however they want.
काय शिकत असतील? हे जे टेलिव्हिजन वरती रोज एक चॅनल वरती जे चालतंय हे राजकारण आहे? हा आपला महाराष्ट्र आहे.
Politics is limited to television channels. What would people learn from that? What would they think of it?
समाजवादाचा विचार या महाराष्ट्रात गेला. बुद्धिझमचा विचार या महाराष्ट्रात गेला. हिंदुइझमचा विचार या महाराष्ट्रात गेला. कम्युनिझमचा विचार या महाराष्ट्रात गेला. हा महाराष्ट्राचा पडतोय. आणि यांच्या सगळ्यांचे सगळं काय जे रोजच्या रोज जे बोलतात ते आम्ही हसण्यावर घेतोय. रोजच्या रोज आमचा महाराष्ट्र खड्ड्यात जातोय. याच्यासाठी महाराष्ट्र दिन साजरा करायचा आहे आम्हाला, की ज्यात आम्ही काही प्रेरणाच घेणार नाही आहोत, ज्यात आम्ही काही बोधच घेणार नाही आहोत.
Maharashtra is going going
जास्ती समाज
absolutely,
सुधारक या
it's just
महाराष्ट्रात
going
दिले,
down.
विचारवंत या महाराष्ट्रात दिले. एक गोष्ट अशी नाही की जी महाराष्ट्रामध्ये कधी जन्माला नाही आली, महाराष्ट्राने इतरांना दिली. आणि आज काय महाराष्ट्राची हालत करून ठेवली आपण.
What have we done to this state
शिव्या
today?
घालतायत. कोणी बुद्ध्याचं बोलायलाच तयार नाहीये.
Abuses are hurled at women and girls.
आम्ही काय शिकवतोय तरुणांना.
What are we teaching the youth?
याचं आमचं लक्षच नाहीये. राज ठाकरेचं भाषण आहे, हल्ला गुल्ला करा, घोषणा द्या, बस निघालो आम्ही. आम्हाला यांना काही घ्यायचं नाही. इथेच मरतो आपण.
Come to Raj Thackeray's rally, listen to him, make noise, go home and forget it. There's no learning. You don't want to learn anything from it.
माझी 2 भाषणं काय झाली त्याच्यावरती सगळे काय फडफडायला लागले.
Only by having 2 rallies, there has been a certain amount of commotion in and around the state.
हे महाराष्ट्र आणि देशासाठी म्हणे योग्य नव्हे. मी दोही वाजवतोय. पवार साहेब, आपण जाती जातीमध्ये जे भेद निर्माण करताय ना, त्याने दोही माजते आहे.
Mr. Pawar, the kind of indifference, the kind of divide that you're creating amongst caste is creating a problem.
हातामध्ये पुस्तक घेतल्यानंतर पुस्तकाचा लेखक कोणत्या जातीचा आहे त्याचा विचार करून बोलायचं.
So now if I'm quoting a book or praising an author, then I should make sure he belongs to which religion and then make that statement.
कधीतरी शरद पवार साहेबांनी महाराजांचा, छत्रपती शिवाजी महाराजांचा उल्लेख केलाय का? आता बोलायला सुरुवात झाली. आता सुरुवात झाली. मी बोलल्यावरती.
Has Mr. Pawar ever mentioned Shivaji Maharaj in any of his speeches?
आणि काहीतरी व्हिडिओ काढतायत.
He has just started it now.
तल्लीन झालेत.
After my rally.
आणि गीत रामायण ऐकतायत आणि बाजूला शिवाजी महाराजांचं पुस्तक ठेवलंय. कशासाठी खोटं करताय?
And now they release some random video. God knows when it was shot.
बस रे आता, बस. त्या दिवशी जेव्हा मी म्हटलं की शरद पवार साहेब हे नास्तिक आहेत, लागलं, झोमलं.
That day when I said Mr. Sharad Pawar is an atheist,
जे मला माहिती होतं ते मी बोललो.
it just
मग लगेच देवाचे बिवाचे फोटो काढले सगळे, पूजा करताना, नमस्कार करताना वगैरे. अहो, देवा बिवाचे कशाला फोटो काढताय?
suddenly his entire PR machinery was after releasing photos of him going to the temples, visiting holy places.
आता याहून आधी काय पुरावा देऊ मी?
What more do I
जिकडे
need
सभा
to
घेतात
say?
तिकडे बोलतायत. राज ठाकरेंनी म्हणे त्यांच्या आजोबांची पुस्तकं वाचली पाहिजे. अरे मी वाचली आहेत. पवार
Wherever
साहेब,
he's taking a rally, he's
तुम्हाला अपेक्षित असलेल्या गोष्टी फक्त तुम्ही
commenting on me.
वाचलेल्या आहेत. अख्खी पुस्तकं वाचा, संदर्भात सहित वाचा, मग तुम्हाला कळेल. माझ्या आजोबांनी जे लिहून ठेवलंय ते जर समजा तुम्ही नीट वाचलं तर ते परिस्थितीला धरू नये. ते व्यक्तिसापेक्ष आहे. जातीपातीमध्ये भेद निर्माण करणारा नव्हे. हा आपला हिंदू धर्म मानणारा माणूस होता. तो त्याची पूजा करणारा माणूस होता. या धर्मामधल्या ज्या चुकीच्या गोष्टी होत्या त्या चुकीच्या गोष्टींवरती बोट दाखवणारा माणूस होता की हे गोष्ट होता का बरे. माझे आजोबा हे भटभिक्षुकीच्या विरोधात होते. धर्म मानणारा माणूस होता. म्हणून मी आज पवार साहेबांसाठी काही संदर्भ आणलेत. आपण तर ऐकावंच, पण या टेलिव्हिजन चॅनलच्या माध्यमातून मी आपल्याला सांगतोय संपूर्ण महाराष्ट्राने देखील डोळे उघडे ठेवून कान देऊन याच्या पुढची मी काही काही गोष्टी ज्या सांगणार त्या ऐकाव्यात की या लोकांनी कसं विष पसरवलं ते महाराष्ट्रामध्ये जातीचं.
How these people have spread that hatred and that venom of casteism in the state.
मी प्रबोधनकारांच्या काही पुस्तकं आणि त्यातले संदर्भ खास करून पवार साहेबांना सांगण्यासाठी म्हणून इथे लिहून आणलेत की जर जमलं तर आपण हे वाचावे.
I have got some of the quotes from some of the books of Prashant Kishor and I'm going to quote it for Mr. Pawar.
पण त्यांचा चरित्र आहे त्याच्यामध्ये पान क्रमांक 101 वरती हिंदू धर्माच्या प्रचाराबाबत केलेलं काम आणि ख्रिश्चन मिशनरींना विरोध म्हणून हिंदू मिशनरी चळवळ स्थापन करणारा माझे आजोबा होते.
It was my grandfather who promoted Hinduism and saved it from that conversion of Christianity. It was my grandfather who did that.
प्रबोधनकार ठाकरे होते.
It was Mr. Prashant Kishor who did that.
त्यांचं एक पुस्तक आहे ऊठ मराठा ऊठ. या पुस्तकामध्ये हिंदू धर्मीयांवरच्या अत्याचाराबाबतची माहिती आहे. पवार साहेब जरूर वाचा.
He's written a book which says Wake Up Hindu. In that he talks about the atrocities on the Hindu and the Hindu people at large. Please read it.
वाचा. राष्ट्रसेवा हिंदूंचा राजधर्म वाचा. आपल्याला जेवढं पाहिजे ना तेवढंच वाचू नये.
Don't read whatever you want to read. Read it completely.
मी सतत सांगतोय की राष्ट्रवादीचा जन्म झाल्यानंतर महाराष्ट्रामध्ये जातीपातीचं राजकारण मोठ्या प्रमाणावरती सुरू झालं. जात प्रत्येक जण मानत होता. जात प्रत्येकाला प्रिय होती.
Everybody followed their own religion, but after the establishment of NCP, the division and divide in communities in caste has really increased.
बांधव भगिनी यांची माती भडकवायची.
My Marathi friends, brothers and sisters, their politics is of divide and rule.
काहीतरी गोष्टी काढायच्या आणि ज्या माणसाने संपूर्ण महाराष्ट्रात नव्हे तर देशात छत्रपती शिवाजी महाराज घराघरापर्यंत पोहोचवले त्यांच्या वृद्धापकाळामध्ये पवार साहेबांनी आमच्या बाबासाहेब पुरंदरेंना त्रास द्यायला सुरुवात केली. कशासाठी?
The person who preached, promoted and spread the message of Shivaji across the state,
राज ठाकरे ना आमचं
Mr. Pawar in his old age gave him lot of problems.
माहिती नाही, आम्ही जातपात कधी बघत नाही आणि आम्हाला जातीपातीशी काही देणं घेणं नाही. मी ज्याच्याकडे जातो ती व्यक्ती
Mr. Pawar, we don't believe in caste, creed and all these things. We don't believe in all these divide and rule policies.
तुमच्या मतांच्या राजकारणासाठी हे सगळं ध्रुवीकरण करायचं जर एवढंच आहे तर मग रायगडावरची समाधी ही
For your politics you are doing this kind of divide.
आमच्या शिवछत्रपतींची समाधी जी बांधली गेली रायगडावरती कोणी बांधली? आमच्या लोकमान्य टिळकांनी बांधली. लोकमान्य टिळकांना आता तुम्ही काय ब्राह्मण म्हणून बघणार आहात का?
Who built the Shivaji Memorial in Raigad? It was Mr.
लोकमान्य
Lokmanya
टिळकांनी
Tilak.
ज्यावेळेला स्वतःचं पहिलं वर्तमानपत्र काढलं त्या वर्तमानपत्राचं पहिलं नाव काय? मराठा.
Lokmanya Tilak released his first Vartaman Patra. The first word of that pustak was definitely Maratha.
बघा ही माणसं सत्तेमध्ये होती. खेचून आणायचा होता त्या जेम्स लेनला. विचारायचा होता तुला कोणी सांगितलं हे? त्या जेम्स लेनची आता इंडिया टुडेने मुलाखत घेतली. त्या मुलाखतीमधले फक्त 4 प्रश्न मी तुम्हाला दाखवायला आणलेत. ते 4 प्रश्न फक्त आपण बघून घ्या. दाखव रे. एक मिनिट थांबा. ही जेम्स लेनची मुलाखतीतला काही भाग आहे. छत्रपती शिवाजी महाराजांची अपमानकारक माहिती तुम्हाला कोणी पुरवली होती? तुम्ही प्रश्न चुकीच्या पद्धतीने विचारत आहात. हे जेम्स लेन सांगतोय. मला कोणीही माहिती पुरवली नाही. माझं पुस्तक लोकांमध्ये प्रचलित असलेल्या कथांबद्दल आहे. या कथा सांगत असलेल्या लोकांनी नरेटिव्ह सेट करून ठेवलं त्याबद्दल आहे. काही लोक रामदास यांना शिवाजी महाराजांचे गुरु मानतात, तर काही तुकाराम महाराज यांना शिवाजी महाराजांचे गुरु मानतात. यातलं खरं काय आहे त्यात मला काही रस नाही. पण एक गट पहिल्या नरेटिव्हच्या बाजूने आहे तर दुसरा दुसऱ्या नरेटिव्हच्या बाजूने आहे. असं का? पुढे
some people believe Ramdas was Shivaji Maharaj's guru. Some people believe Tukaram was believed. But this is, people are setting a narrative on my book and misinterpreting it.
पुन्हा सांगतो मी,
People who believe that I am disrespecting Shivaji are trying to misinterpret deliberately the entire thing.
त्यांचं म्हणणं काय होतं? मी कधीही बाबासाहेब पुरंदरेशी एका शब्दाने बोललेलो नाही. पुढे महाराजांबद्दलचे अपमानकारक शब्द तुम्ही मागे घेतले ते कशामुळे? युक्तिवाद करताना मी पुरेशी काळजी घेतली नाही, त्याचा परिणाम इतरांना भोगावा लागला. ज्याच्यावरनं 10-15 वर्ष राजकारण केले या महाराष्ट्रामध्ये पवार साहेब तुम्ही, तो जेम्स लेन सांगतो मी कोणालाही भेटलेलो नाहीये. ते माझं ऐतिहासिक पुस्तक, माझ्या त्यामध्ये इतिहास नाहीये. तुमची केंद्रामध्ये सत्ता होती, तुम्ही कृषी मंत्री होता, का नाही फरफटत आणला त्याला? का महाराष्ट्राची डोकी फिरवली? कशासाठी हे विष पाजलत तुम्ही लोकांना? कशासाठी विष पाजलत? नवीन वाद उकरून काढायचे. शिवाजी महाराजांचे गुरु रामदास स्वामी होते का नव्हते? रामदास स्वामींकडे परत तुम्ही जाती.
Why are you spreading this venom amongst
रामदास
people,
स्वामी कधी
Mr.
बोलले
Pawar?
की मी शिवाजी महाराजांचा गुरु होतो? की शिवाजी महाराज कधी बोलले
Has
की
Ramdas Swami ever
गुरु होते
said
म्हणून?
that he was the guru of Shivaji Maharaj?
गुरु
Or
शिष्याचा
has
नात्याचा काही
Shivaji
संबंधच
Maharaj
येत
ever
नाही.
said that? There is no context.
जे
There is
रामदास
no
स्वामीने
relation.
आजपर्यंत जे शिवाजी महाराजांवरती लिहून ठेवलेलं आहे ना, मी त्याच्या इतकं उत्कृष्ट शिवाजी महाराजांवरती लिहिलेलं आजपर्यंत कुठेही वाचलेलं नाही.
Whatever Ramdas Swami has written about Shivaji Maharaj,
जे त्यांनी लिहून ठेवलंय
I
ना,
have
निश्चयाचा महामेरू,
never
बौद्ध जनासे आधारू, अखंड स्थितीचा
read
निर्धारू,
it
श्रीमंत
anywhere
योगी.
what you are talking about.
त्याच्यातले फक्त शेवटच्या 3 ओळी वाचून दाखवतो. लाऊडस्पीकर वरती येणार पण थोड्या वेळाने.
I'm going to read a few lines and it will be on the loudspeaker in a few moments.
तुमचे देशी या ओळी येत नाहीत फारशा, पण हे मी तुमच्यासमोर पूर्ण वाचून दाखवते म्हणून मी त्यात फक्त शेवटच्या 3 ओळी वाचून दाखवतो. तुमचे देशी वास्तव्य केले परंतु वर्तमान नाही घेतले, ऋणानुबंध विस्मरण झाले काय नेणो. सर्वज्ञ मंडळी धर्ममूर्ती काय सांगणे तुम्हाप्रती, परी धर्म संस्थापनेची कीर्ती सांभाळली पाहिजे. उदंड राजकारण तटले तेणे चित्त विभागिले, प्रसंग नसता लिहिले क्षमा केली पाहिजे. रामदास स्वामी छत्रपतींना सांगतायत क्षमा केली पाहिजे. माफ करा, मला मी लिहिलंय तुम्हाला पण मला माफ करा. गुरु शिष्याला लिहितो. कुठच्या शाळेतला शिक्षक जरा दाखवा मला.
Ramdas Swami is written that whatever I've written, if it's wrong, I beg your pardon, forgive me.
आणि ही माफी नाहीये, यात प्रेम आहे.
This is not an apology, this is love.
सगळ्यांनी दूर राहणं गरजेचं आहे. या पवार साहेबांना हिंदू या शब्दाचीच मुळात अलर्जी आहे.
Mr. Pawar hates the word Hindu itself. He's got an allergy with it.
प्रत्येक वेळेला बोलताना शाहू फुले आंबेडकरांचा महाराष्ट्र हो तो आहेच.
Every time when he's talking, he says Shahu Phule Ambedkar's Maharashtra. Yes, it is.
विचार घेऊन ते पुढे गेले.
But it is ultimately Shivaji Maharaj's Maharashtra. It's his vision that these people have taken forward. But you never heard it. Now, since I've removed this issue, that's why he's talking about Shivaji.
घरी जाऊन बघू शकता. फोटो पण नसतो. फोटो पण कधी नसायचा. आता सुरू केलं लावायला.
There was never a photo of Shivaji with him. Now he started putting it.
आणि पवार साहेब पहिली गोष्ट आपल्याला निश्चितपणे सांगतो, मी जात मानत नाही, मला जातीशी काही देणं घेणं नाही. इथे कोणा ब्राह्मणांची बाजू घेण्यासाठी म्हणून मी पण उभा नाहीये आणि कोणाचीच बाजू घेणार नाहीये.
Let me clear this, Mr. Pawar. I don't believe in caste, creed. I never take sides. I don't understand it. I'm not here to support any Brahmin or any other caste.
या 18 पगड जातींमध्ये विष घालवलं तुम्ही का? तुम्हाला सगळ्यांमधून मतं पाहिजेत म्हणून, आमदार निवडून यायला पाहिजेत म्हणून. अहो एवढ्याशा छोट्याशा गोष्टीसाठी
You have spread this venom of casteism just because of your politics, because you want people to come in power. You want your people to come in power.
शाळेमध्ये मुलं एकमेकांकडे जी सहज जायची, सहज भेटायची, ती आता विचार करायला लागली, हा कोणत्या जातीचा आणि तो कोणत्या जातीचा.
This venom has spread so far that now in school, children who are studying together, they keep thinking among themselves whether I should talk to this person, he belongs to this caste or that caste.
बाहेर येत नाही होत. आम्ही हिंदू कधी होणार, आम्ही मराठी कधी होणार.
We will never come out of this caste system.
आमच्याकडे जातीने विळखा घालून ठेवल्या सगळ्या गोष्टीला.
This country is divided on the name of caste and creed.
उदात्त विचार या महाराष्ट्राने दिले, तो महाराष्ट्र जातीत सडतोय.
The Maharashtra that has given such broad vision, such broad thoughts with some great leaders is today now divided with this caste issue.
लाऊडस्पीकरचा विषय.
There are several issues. Now there is this loudspeaker issue.
त्याशी एका पत्रकाराने मला विचारलं, नाही एकदम लाऊडस्पीकर अचानक. म्हटलं अचानक.
One of these days, one of the journalists asked me, how come this loudspeaker issue came up suddenly?
मी त्याच्या अगोदरच्या माझ्या क्लिप्स दाखवल्या होत्या त्याशी.
I showed him my clips from earlier rallies.
हा काही लाऊडस्पीकर हा नवीन
I
विषय
have said this time and again.
मी पहिल्यांदा मांडतो अशातला विषय नाहीये. याच्या अगोदर अनेकांनी मांडलाय.
I have said and mentioned this issue several times. This is not for the first time.
पर्याय दिला. की लाऊडस्पीकर मशिदींवरचे लावून जर समजा तुम्ही गोंगाट करणार असाल तर त्या मशिदींच्या बाहेर आम्ही हनुमान चालीसा पढू, मोठ्याने लावू.
If you use a loudspeaker outside a mosque and play it loudly, then in front of that mosque we will play Hanuman Chalisa on a loudspeaker.
दंगली घडवायची इच्छा देखील नाहीये.
I don't want to have any sort of riots in Maharashtra. I don't want to bring around some unrest in Maharashtra.
त्या दिवशी माझ्याकडे एक नाशिकला एक जण पत्रकार आले.
That day I met with journalists from Nasik crime.
आणि ते आले त्या पत्रकारांनी मला सांगितलं, माझ्याकडे आपल्या पुण्याच्या केबिन मध्ये आतमध्ये आले आणि मला म्हणाले, साहेब मी मुसलमान आहे पण आम्हाला भोंग्याचा खूप त्रास होतो. म्हणजे माझा
He told me in fact that sir, I am a Muslim, but this loudspeaker is creating a lot of problems. My child is having trouble in sleeping because of this loudspeaker outside mosque.
ते अजान आणि त्या सगळ्या बांग सुरू होतात आणि माझं पोर झोपू शकलं नाही. मग मी अनेकदा त्याला सांगितलं, पण एकदा मी मशिदीत गेलो, तिकडचे मौलवी होते, त्याला सांगितलं की माझ्या मुलाला त्रास होतोय तुमच्या भोंग्याचा, तुम्हाला जे काय पठण करायचं असेल ते मशिदीच्या आत करा, आम्हाला या लाऊडस्पीकरचा त्रास होतोय. त्याच्यानंतर त्यांनी काहीतरी कमी केलं.
I went up to that person and told him that my child is having problem with the loudspeaker, and I told them that please reduce the volume, and after that they did reduce the volume.
आणि लाऊडस्पीकर या विषयाला जर समजा तुम्ही धार्मिक वळण देणार असाल तर त्याचं उत्तर
if you are giving a religious color to this loudspeaker Rao, then we will have to answer it with our dharma.
आमची इच्छा नसताना आम्हाला टोकाची भूमिका घ्यायला लावू नका.
We don't intend to, but don't make it an issue. Don't make us come out and take a stand.
परंतु जर समजा उत्तर प्रदेशमध्ये जर समजा लाऊडस्पीकर जर उतरवले जाऊ शकतात तर माझ्या महाराष्ट्रात का नाही उतरवले जाऊ शकत?
If in UP the loudspeakers at mosque and every religious places can be removed, then why can't it happen in Maharashtra?
सुप्रीम कोर्टाने
All the
सांगितलं
loudspeakers are
आहे स्थानिक
illegal.
पोलीस स्टेशनला किंवा त्यांना विचारल्याशिवाय तुम्ही लाऊडस्पीकर लावू शकत नाही, त्यांची परवानगी घ्यावी लागते. किती मशिदींकडे परवानगी आहेत?
One should go and check how many of these people have the actual legal permission of putting the loudspeaker like that. Nobody has it.
कालच कोणीतरी सांगितलं इथे संभाजीनगर मध्ये 600 मशिदी आहेत.
Yesterday somebody told me in Sambhajinagar there are 600 mosques.
असं फक्त संभाजीनगर मध्ये नाही, अख्ख्या देशभर आहे. हे संपूर्ण देशातले लाऊडस्पीकर पहिले खाली आले पाहिजे. सगळ्यांना समान धर्म असला पाहिजे.
It's not limited to Sambhajinagar also. Loudspeakers across the country should be removed.
आम्हाला सभा घ्यायची असली की लगेच सांगतात की नाही नाही हा सायलेन्स झोन आहे, इथे शाळा आहे. रात्रीची कुठची
When we have to take a rally, suddenly this becomes a silence zone.
हा सायलेन्स झोन आहे, इथे शाळा आहे, इथे मंदिर आहे, इथे सभा नाही घेऊ शकत.
There is a temple, there is a school. One can't take a rally here.
तुम्ही नमाज पढ़ताय.
You can follow your faith by reading the namaz on the road.
माझी शासनाला पण नम्र विनंती आहे. आज तारीख 1 आहे.
It's my humble request to the government.
उद्या तारीख 2 आहे.
Tomorrow is the 2nd.
3 तारखेला ईद आहे.
3rd is Eid.
त्यांच्या सणामध्ये मला कुठच्याही प्रकारचं विष घालवायचं नाही.
I don't want to spoil anything for them. After the 4th, I will not listen.
माझी महाराष्ट्रातल्या सर्व तमाम हिंदू बांधवांना भगिनींना माझी विनंती आहे, हात जोडून विनंती आहे.
It's my request and appeal to all the Hindus in Maharashtra.
दुप्पट आवाजाने तिथे हनुमान चालीसा तुमची लागलीच पाहिजे.
If there is a loudspeaker playing the azan,
विनंती करून जर
then there should be a Hanuman Chalisa playing outside.
लाऊडस्पीकर तुमच्या धर्मामध्ये बसत नाही.
No religion promotes loudspeakers.
जे सुप्रीम कोर्टाचे नियम म्हणून सांगताय ना, त्या सुप्रीम कोर्टाच्या नियमामध्ये माझी पोलिसांना नम्र विनंती आहे.
My humble request to the police.
सभेच्या वेळेला हे बांग जर सुरू करणार असतील, आपण आत्ताच्या आत्ता ताबडतोब तोंडात बोळा कोंबावा. ह्यांना जर सहज सरळ मार्गाने जर समजा समजत नसेल तर मग त्याच्यानंतर महाराष्ट्रात काय होईल मला माहिती नाही.
If you are not understanding the seriousness of the problem, then after this, whatever happens in Maharashtra is not my responsibility.
आणि माझं एक म्हणणं आहे या बाबतीत, त्यांना जर समजा सरळ भाषेमध्ये समजत नसेल ना तर एकदा काय ते तिच्या आईला होऊनच जाऊन देत. अजिबात शांत बसता कामा नये तुम्ही. संभाजीनगरच्या पोलिसांना माझी हात नम्र विनंती परत करतोय, मी आपल्याला परत सांगतोय, हे जर या पद्धतीने वागणार असतील, यांना जर सरळ सांगून जर समजा समजत नसेल, तर महाराष्ट्राच्या मनगटामध्ये काय ताकद आहे ना, ही यांना एकदा दाखवावीच लागेल.
I would like to request Sambhajinagar also, if they don't understand the simple language, if they don't understand our humble request,
देशवासियांना, अख्ख्या संपूर्ण देशातल्या माझ्या हिंदू
then
बांधवांना भगिनींना माझी विनंती आहे
we will take
की
strict
बिलकुल
action.
मागचा पुढचा काही विचार करू नका. हे भोंगे उतरले गेलेच पाहिजेत.
It's my appeal to entire countrymen now. Don't think of anything. Don't think of consequences. These loudspeakers have to be uninstalled. They have to be removed.
आपण सगळे जण आज ही परिस्थिती आहे. अभी नहीं तो कभी नहीं.
It's now or never.
माझ्या देशातल्या सर्व देशवासियांना, माझी सर्व हिंदू बांधवांना, भगिनींना माझी विनंती आहे, जर हे 3 तारखेपर्यंत ऐकले नाही, 4 तारखेला हनुमान चालीसा प्रत्येक ठिकाणी मला ऐकू आलंच पाहिजे.
It's my request to all the people, all the Hindus, if till 3rd this issue is not resolved, then on 4th I should hear the Hanuman Chalisa playing everywhere
आणि सामाजिक दृष्ट्या हा
where
1
it's
वर्षाचा
needed.
प्रलंबित प्रश्न हा कायमचा निकाली लागेल, याच्यासाठी सगळ्यांनी आपण हातभार लावावा ही नम्र विनंती करतो आणि आपणा सर्वांची मी रजा घेतो. धन्यवाद. जय हिंद, जय महाराष्ट्र.
सभेची सांगता राष्ट्रगीताने होईल. राष्ट्रगीत.
Harman Gomes is with me after that mega rally, mega address by Raj Thackeray. Harman, no words mince there. Direct attack on Sharad Pawar, and by the end of it, he was very clear. Either you do what I'm asking you to do by the 3rd, or you will be responsible for what happens next.
The cops here in Aurangabad, who he has referred to as Sambhajinagar, which has been a long-standing demand for renaming, stating that the cops here need to go out and remove the loudspeakers altogether. He says he will keep quiet till the 3rd, which is the Eid, but on 4th of May, he says, I will not be responsible for what happens next. He says that the loudspeaker issue is a social one and not a religious one. But in case if leaders here in Maharashtra want to give a religious sort of tone to it, we will answer it in a simpler manner. He also goes on to say that the government wants to remove illegal loudspeakers from temples and churches, etc. They can do so, but first they need to remove it out from mosques. Besides that, he's also he's gone all out and stated that while some schools, when they're located in a certain sort of an area, are declared as silent zones, then why do people from a certain community come on the road and offer namaz? He says, who has allowed such sort of permissions? He says, I do not know what will happen in Maharashtra. I want to tell the cops here to go away, to go right away and start removing these loudspeakers. He says on that let's finish this issue for once and for all. Furthermore, he also says he has asked all of the leaders to take permission for loudspeakers from the police and play the Hanuman Chalisa so that even he can hear it as far as Mumbai. He says the cops will have no other option but to grant permission for the chanting of the Hanuman Chalisa out on various places from 4th onwards. But then he says this is an issue of the loudspeakers is not just limited to Maharashtra but also the rest of India, and the same needs to be done. In fact, Arunima, he has also been all praised for the Yogi government in UP. He says in case if the similar act could have been done in Uttar Pradesh where loudspeakers were removed, then why not in Maharashtra? So completely direct attack, and this is exactly what his supporters were waiting to hear. Through the day, we've also, at the beginning of his speech, he began by attacking Sharad Pawar, but then on towards the end, he has spoken largely about the loudspeakers issue, and yes, amidst a lot of large applause. Now, the police had definitely asked him before granting the permission, saying that not to make any sort of remarks against any sort of community. But, that seems not to have been the case today. So what happens next really to be seen. But the ultimatum has been given. He says he will keep quiet till the 3rd of May. But after that, he says they will decide to do it in their own way. He says the loudspeakers is not a social issue, but rather is a social issue and not a religious issue as termed by the Mahavikas Aghadi government. But in case if the Mahavikas Aghadi government calls it a religious issue, they will have no other option but to defend themselves in the same way by calling it in the same tone that the Mahavikas Aghadi has been alleging.
All right, Harman Gomes there, keeping an eye on the situation as it is unfolding in Aurangabad. Raj Thackerays ultimatum to the administration there. We're slipping into a very quick break, but on the other side, there's more news and updates. Stay with us.
Tiranga Yatras that are going to be held from time to time in Uttar Pradesh. Also, he said that there are going to be recruitments as well. There will be heads of these shakhas that will be appointed. These are going to be branch heads of the Tiranga shakhas. The appointment will start, in fact, from July 1st, according to Aam Aadmi Party's Sanjay Singh. Now, 10,000 Tiranga shakhas are going to start, but will that help the Aam Aadmi Party to make a footprint in Uttar Pradesh? That remains a big question. Last time over, we saw that Aam Aadmi Party failed to, in fact, Rupashri Nanda is joining us on the phone line. Rupashri, so Sanjay Singh, they're saying that from 1st July onwards, branch heads also of these Tiranga shakhas are going to be appointed. Do you have more details?
Well, Sanjay Singh has clearly said that 10,000 branch heads will be appointed for these shakhas or branches. And so we do expect the Aam Aadmi Party to go on a drive in order to recruit people who they believe or who the Aam Aadmi Party hopes would make this program a success. And now remember, in the tweet that Sanjay Singh has, put out, he has also said that they are going to fight what Sanjay Singh calls the politics of hatred by the RSS. And he has also said that the political thought of many leaders of the country are going to be propagated here. One of the leaders that he has mentioned is that of, the name is Baba Saheb Ambedkar. And remember, the Aam Aadmi Party has in the recent past tried to make a very strong push to appropriate the legacy of Baba Saheb Ambedkar. And if you look at the politics of the Aam Aadmi Party, especially over the past few...
Network 18, India's biggest news network, wins big at News Broadcasting Awards 2021 with a whopping 80 awards.
Second worst disaster, mobile vaccination. The fight against sexual harassment.
CNN News 18 receives 13 awards at ENBA 2021.
It is a race for the White House.
CNN News 18, on your side.
Building its own organization. The party has a substantial presence in urban areas, but when it comes to rural areas, it still has a long way to go. And for any political party which has national ambitions, Uttar Pradesh is extremely important. It cannot afford to ignore Uttar Pradesh if it has to, move forward in its ambitions on the national stage. And that is very clear. And even today, Aam Aadmi Party chief Arvind Kejriwal in Gujarat, because they are trying to make, an impact over there. So this is completely in keeping in line with the strategy of the Aam Aadmi Party.
Okay, thank you, Rupashri. In fact, we also have our guests joining us on the broadcast. We have Desh Ratan Nigam, advocate and also RSS supporter. Ravi Srivastava, political analyst, joining us on the broadcast. I'll come to you first, Desh Ratan Nigam. Now, on one hand, the Aam Aadmi Party is saying that they are starting this concept of Tiranga Shakhas based on the Shakha concept, the RSS concept. But on the other hand, also saying that what RSS does is a politics of hatred. How do you respond?
I think what they have said is about BJP, not the RSS. So one thing is clearly established, that the Aam Aadmi Party, without acknowledging the importance of the RSS Shakhas, have actually acknowledged the importance and relevance of RSS Shakha.
Our top focus, there's a new flashpoint between Aam Aadmi Party and BJP. Now, AAP is set to open 10,000 Tiranga Shakhas in the next 6 months along the lines of the RSS, according to Rajya Sabha MP and the party's UP state in charge, Sanjay Singh. He tweeted that this was being done to educate people of Uttar Pradesh about BJP's politics of hatred. Branch heads of these Tiranga Shakhas will be appointed from July 1st onwards. Aam Aadmi Party Sanjay Singh also said that Tiranga Yatras would be held from time to time. So 10,000 Tiranga Shakhas is something that the Aam Aadmi Party's Sanjay Singh, who is also the party's UP state in charge, has announced. Also, this is on the lines of RSS Shakhas, but
good evening, you're watching CNN News 18. I'm Arunima with the weekend edition of Brass Tacks. Maharashtra Navnirman Sena Chief Raj Thackeray has slammed Sharad Pawar in his big rally at Aurangabad and also read out literally the Riot Act, reiterated his position on the loudspeakers, threatening to take matters in his own hands if mosques continue to use speakers. At this rally, MNS Chief Raj Thackeray left no words minced on his loudspeaker ultimatum for mosques, warning the Muslim community. The MNS chief reiterated that all mosques must remove loudspeakers or else the Hanuman Chalisa will be blared in full volume. In a pointed dig at the Mahavikas Aghadi government, Thackeray drew a comparison between Maharashtra administration and that of Uttar Pradesh's Yogi administration's successful venture to scale down all loudspeakers from religious sites. He stated that all basic rights have been violated and the May 4 deadline will ensure that loudspeaker issue will be resolved for good. Harman Gomes was there at the rally ground tracking all of this. Harman, this was the much awaited, speech for his supporters. And when he spoke about loudspeakers, there was a huge cheer. But what about the police? The permissions that they had given, all of it seemed to have been thrown out of the window.
Absolutely, Arunma. There were a total of at least 15 conditions that were set up that were to be given for the permissions of this public meeting. Many among them today were violated. To begin with, they were clearly asked not to burst any firecrackers. The minute Mr. Raj Thackeray arrived, in fact, at the days, that is when firecrackers were burst. But then, most largely, it was centric towards his last speech, where he was asked, in fact, not to make any remarks that would hurt any religious communities. But Raj Thackeray, they're spelling out the plan as to what next happens as the ultimatum for the May 3rd deadline for the removal of loudspeakers comes forth. He says that on 4th of May, we will answer it in our own way, and he is not to be blamed as to what happens next in Maharashtra at different places. What were the cops doing? Well, he even addressed the cops here at Aurangabad city, and he said, I want to give out a message to you all right away, that to go out of this public meeting right away and ensure that the loudspeakers are removed right now. So that was what he stated. He also said that we will show them, that is the MNS would show their strength to these cops. He said that these acts that were, by a certain community were not just. He said even if illegal loudspeakers are removed from temples and churches at a later stage, that is fine. But right away, it needs to be removed from outside the mosque. And he also went on to state that from 4th onwards, that if schools, I beg your pardon, which are declared often as silent zones in certain sort of paths, then why is it that Muslims are allowed to come onto the road and offer namaz? He says, who allows them to give them this permission? He, in fact, has been all praised for the Uttar Pradesh government, stating that if Uttar Pradesh could remove thousands of loudspeakers, then why can't it be done in Maharashtra? And also at the same time, more than an ultimatum, he says this issue needs to be resolved once and for all. Another issue that he had went on to say that could, also hurt the sentiments of a certain group is when he says that Sharad Pawar has been all praised for several other leaders such as Baba Sahib Ambedkar from Maharashtra, but he never utters the word of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, but probably now he can. He says because Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj was the first one to take the lead as far as taking Maharashtra forward was concerned. But most importantly, he said that the entire issue is a social one and not a religious one. But if the Mahavikas Agadi government is trying to give it a religious context, a religious sort of connotation to be attached to it, he will answer it in a religious manner. Now, in fact, he gave an example, Arunima, stating that a particular Muslim journalist from Nasik had visited him, and he alleged that this particular journalist had told him that he too was affected by the loudspeaker row as his infant could not get proper sleep. So that's giving that as an example. He said this is a social issue and rather not a religious one.
Yes, he tried to paint his entire speech in a social discourse, and he did try to say that this isn't about religion. Harban, thanks for pointing that out. I want to take that point too as Balakrishnan, senior journalist, and as well as Sandeep Ghosh, political commentator. Mr. Balakrishnan, Raj Thackeray trying very hard to present himself as somebody who's not raising a religious issue, but rather a social issue. But do you think the message is lost on anyone?
Well, Arunima, this is a plain and simple political issue. The whole thing has been hopelessly politicized, and this is a huge power game which is at play here in Maharashtra. Raj Thackeray has caught his cousin Uddhav Thackre's government by the jugular. Okay, and there is no way in which this government can escape, because the issue which he has raised, even though it is not something new, but it has been there for a very, very long time. And there's a whole lot of judgments and guidelines from the Supreme Court and the noise control rules. Maharashtra government has got 2 judgments on that. Maharashtra High Court has got 2 extremely detailed judgment by Justice Oka, the bench led by Justice Oka. Extremely detailed this one guidelines have been given. The Calcutta High Court judgment is there. So what Raj Thackeray is basically doing is asking the Uddhav Thackeray government to implement the law.
Right.
If there is no law, then how Yogi Adityanath is able to shut down so many speakers? The law is very clear and simple that if loudspeakers are used without permission, they must be seized. And that's exactly what the Uddhav Thackeray government is not doing. And this is the issue which Raj Thackeray has caught on. And the kind of response he has got today, it is unbelievable. I don't think all the 3 coalition partners of the NBA government would be able to put up such a massive show like what Raj has been able to do today.